Chapter 6, Geeks Only. With everything you have learned so far, it couldn't really be possible. Really? How could there be any more? Well, okay, I understand the perspective. It might seem like this book should have ended several chapters ago. Honestly, I can't think of anything else I can teach you about the hex filtration method. I have just one little problem, though. This book's title is all wrong. I need to express the one main point to all this mumbo-jumbo. Where is that all-exclusive primes pattern I promised? Okay, that makes sense. And I agree. Let me ask a question, though. What pattern? Seriously. Frankly, that has always been a problem my whole life. Everyone says there's no pattern to prime numbers, but I've just led you through multiple different examples of the basic underlying pattern found to calculate prime numbers. I'd like to think I kept the whole thing pretty simple, too. All right, I get it. I know what everyone is talking about. People want something like 1 plus 1 equals 11. That is to say, some kind of simple, direct pattern that has been unrecognized by the scientific community as a whole. I get it. But with everything I've learned and taught in this book, isn't it obvious? For example, one of the most asked questions I've heard is the twin primes conjecture, i.e., two prime numbers are often found back to back. What is this? Will it always occur despite number size? Well, let's just say anyone who actually studied the material in this book should have no problem answering that question. But it's simple. The way that the underlying pattern of row 1 in chart 1A works proves that regardless of the number size, the principle of two primes occurring back to back is always inevitable. This fact in and of itself should be enough to prove the existence of the underlying pattern of prime numbers. The point could easily be driven home by the topic discussed in the previous chapter. The pattern of prime numbers is exposed when you look at the pattern in each row that makes up the entirety of what prime numbers are. They are simply numbers that have not been affected by the constant dynamic flow of all the other numbers. Let's look back at chapter 5 for just a second. Remember how the master row had a distinct pattern and that the pattern was self-repeating. Maybe it wasn't so obvious to everyone, but try to look at the distribution of primes in its pattern. Notice that even though the infinitely repeating sequence of potential primes in the master row pattern inherently has what some might call false positives, the pattern still always holds true. No prime number can ever be found outside of the potential primes pattern. And as the pattern grows, it always resolves more and more of the non-primes. This underlying pattern created from an infinite group of patterns is where I believe the key to it all lies, and it's deeply important to me to know that all primes will be found within this pattern. Funny for something that's not supposed to have any kind of pattern in the first place. The deeper you calculate/merge the master row with the regular rows, the greater the accuracy of the primes pattern you will have. It's interesting to me that any hex digit in the master row pattern that reflects a binary 0 for a given base 10 number means it will never be prime at any point of the pattern as it repeats. Amazing. So then, after all I have shared, after all you have learned, after all of everything in this book, finally it truly begs the question, does any of this really qualify as a distinct, recognizable pattern of prime numbers? Well, dear reader, I can only leave the answer up to you to decide. What do you think? Is there a pattern here underneath it all? Has the ultimate question finally been revealed? Probably not. But heck, it was sure fun, and I am greatly pleased to have shared everything with you. Now that I am done, what else is there? Can anyone else think of anything? Well, let me propose an idea. This whole book has used the natural convention of binary and hex digits to help expose a pattern in all this confusion. The current method counts a binary 1 as prime or potentially prime, and binary 0 as, well, duh, right? What might happen if you inverted that scheme? make the binary 0 equate to prime, etc. Well, that's a project I'll leave to the brave. I believe the problem with everyone who wants a pattern is they are unwilling to look at the underlying multiplicity of continuous patterns that make up the entirety of our number system itself. Each row calculated shows how the previously established patterns may stay constant, but everything still works to dynamically create an overall kind of world pattern. You might call it the unified theory of everything prime. All I'm saying is no one, as far as I've heard, seems to have even the most basic understanding of the simple things that I have presented here. Maybe I'm out of touch, but I feel like people shouldn't be afraid of prime numbers. They aren't hard. Numbers should be considered a simple, basic part of everyday life. I must be naive, but I believe this is a fundamental basic part of what life is all about. Okay, everybody. I've basically wasted enough of your time, so I'm going to end the book here. I hope you will leave with a more stimulated understanding about the lesser known principles of prime numbers. I have a few leftover chapters that have nothing to do with any of this, but I'm including them for your more curious minds to poke a finger at and maybe if you're lucky, figure out something even I didn't know about. From a purveyor of the knowledge to the endless minds to be grown.